right, we are doing the Firia Mission 2 Introducing CodeAIR lesson. Let's go ahead and start with objective number 1. In this mission, you'll be programming a real micro drone called the CodeAIR. All the Python code that you write will run on the drone itself, not your laptop. The drone has sensors, LEDs, a speaker, buttons, motors, and a camera so that it can detect things that you can control with code. Throughout the Fly with Python curriculum, you'll learn the basics of quadcopter flight and how the software controls real hardware. Before starting this first coding objective, though, we're going to click one of the build tools shown on the screen so that you can see if you click on one of these little wrenches, then it's going to save that information to your toolbox, which you can access down here. And so anytime you see, let's X out, anytime you see one of those little wrench things, if you click on it, it'll save that to your toolbox so you can reference it later. So your job is to click on at least one of those toolboxes, and that will complete this objective. Let's go ahead and go on next to the second objective. Okay, in the second objective, before handling your CodeAIR, there's a few quick safety steps to protect the electronics from static electricity. Static can build up on your body and discharge into the drone, so here's what you're going to do. Make sure when you're handling the drone, you handle it by the prop guard. Avoid pressing any of the LEDs, connectors, and other exposed components. And then when you're not using the drone, please make sure it gets put back into its box. Okay. Before using the drone, it's even safe to touch a metal part like your chair legs or something to discharge any static buildup that you might have on you. That would be a good idea. In this objective, close the panel right here to view the 3D model. Right here. And we're going to rotate it around so that we can know how to do that. And we're going to click on these little lightning bolts that remind us these are places where static electricity can build up. And every time you click on them, they should go away. And then that has completed our objective. Then we also need to make sure that we know where the USB connector is. So on our drone, you can see right here, there's a forward arrow. If you come counterclockwise from the forward arrow, you can see that there's a USB port. And that is where you plug that into the drone so that you can load any code you have on it. And it should do a little, oh yeah, I'm ready type of signal. You notice there's a light coming on, and the other end, of course, gets plugged into your computer. And just know that that's one of those places where static buildup can happen. All right, let's move on to the next steps. The next step is the questions. And what should you do before handling the CodeAIR? Touch some grounded metal. All right, step number 3. In objective 3, all the Python code you write runs directly on the CodeAIR itself, like we said before. Once your program is loaded, you don't have to keep it plugged in after that. We're going to keep it plugged in for the first couple of lessons just because we're not going to be taking off yet, but learning how to use it. So the CPU, you can see in the model. In the model, it's right here. In our drone, it's this part right here. CPU stands for Computer Processing Unit, so that's where we load all of the code to. It also communicates with the drone's hardware, sensors, buttons, LEDs, and the separate flight control CPU that manages the motors. So to complete this step, we're just going to rotate the model and click on the CPU. So we have to rotate the model, and we're going to click on the CPU, which is this kind of big metal-y looking thing right here. And then we can click Done. Okay, to the next objective. In objective number 4, we need to make sure the power switch is set on. The switch has 2 settings, 0 for off and 1 for on. It's a little bit hard to see because it's so teeny. Remember, we saw the forward arrow right here. The power switch is right across from the forward arrow. And if you look very carefully, you can see that there is a 0 on one side here and a 1 on that side right there. And then this little black knob in the middle is the on-off switch. So if I move that knob all the way over to the one side, then that turns on the drone, and you saw that it did that little spinny thing. So let's turn it off and on one more time so you can see what that looks like. Turn it on. And then the drone should respond. There it goes. Okay, so it's really small, so you got to make sure you can keep track of where that is. The CodeAIR uses a single cell LiPo battery stored inside its landing shed, which is right here. The battery is inside and it's connected right there. Okay, the white battery connector is polarized. This guy right here, he's polarized, so there's only one way to plug it in. So if you ever have to unplug this and plug it in, please make sure you're doing it the right way so we're not ruining or damaging that component. To complete this step, you need to turn the physical switch on your drone like we did. In the 3D model, we need to click on the power switch, and then we need to click on the white battery connector. So since we already plugged in our drone, let's go take a look at here. We know that the power switch was right here on the drone, and the battery connector was right here. So switch here, connector here. All right, let's go to the next step. In step 5, next we're going to connect our CodeAIR to our computer using the USB cable. If when you plug it in, you get a little pop-up, just close the pop-up or ignore it. The USB connector does 3 things. It allows your computer to communicate with the drone, it provides a 9-volt power to everything except the motors, and it charges the battery while the drone is plugged in. So to complete this step, we need to plug the USB cable into both our computer and the CodeAIR. Now, I had already plugged it in earlier, but that's where the plug is. So that end needs to go to your CodeAIR, and then the other end should go to your computer, and that should already be done. And then in the model, we need to click the USB port so that the computer knows we understand where it is, and the USB port is right next to where the battery connector was, right here. So once we click on that, we can continue. All right, step 6. Now you'll link your CodeAIR to CodeSpace so your browser can load and run the code on your drone. So make sure your USB cable is connected to both your computer and the CodeAIR, and that your power switch on your drone is turned on to the 1 position. Under the code editor, click the red connection bar, which is right here. We're going to click on that. Then we're going to click connect, find your drone that has been plugged in, and connect. Once you do that, we have finished this step and we can go on to the next objective. Okay, in case it doesn't connect, make sure the power switch is on. Make sure the USB cable is fully plugged into both the computer and the drone. Try unplugging the battery or reload your browser tab and then reconnect the USB cable. These are all things that might help it connect if you're having trouble. Next step. Okay, time to create an actual code file. When you type code into the text editor panel, it's automatically saved to your personal file system in CodeSpace. So each code file should have a name that states its purpose. So you should make a new file for each objective. Here's how we're going to do it. Come up to File, then you're going to click New File, and then you're going to name your file. For this objective, we need to name the file Lights1, and then you click Create. Once you do that, that should have finished that objective. Let's go ahead and go on to the next one. Okay, in objective 8, we're going to learn about CodeTrack. CodeTrack is the tool in CodeSpace that guides you through each of the objectives. He looks like this little guy who's taking a hike or a trek. So let's go ahead and click on him. He's down here. The CodeTrack gives you the stuff you actually need to type. If it's in any color other than green, then that is the exact code that you need to type. But when we have a to-do, with the T-O-D-O, to-do, that means it's telling you need to put something there, but it's not going to tell you exactly what code to put there. You should have known by now, and so it's kind of like answering a question in a quiz where you need to know what that code is. By the way, this little hashtag, also called a pound sign or a number sign, if you put this in front of a line, the program will not read that. That is not code. So if you want to make notes, then that is where you put your notes. Please note that the CodeTrack also has, if you look at the dots down here, it tells you how many pages there are. So this first one told you about that line, and the next one is telling you about that line. Okay, let's go ahead and X out and head over to the next step. Okay, this is a question. What is the CPU's job on the CodeAIR? It's what's going to store your code on the drone and execute it, meaning run that code and tell the drone what to do. Which of the following comments is a standard reminder for you to fill in actual code? We talked about the to-do. If it says to-do, that means you need to put code there instead of copying this exactly. Next step, step 9. Okay, in objective 9. Before you begin, remember, capitalization matters, punctuation matters, and Python is case sensitive. So we're going to open the code editor and delete any code that's already there. Then we're going to open the CodeTrack down here, and we're going to type the code exactly as shown. So right here it says from CodeAIR import. So we're going to type from CodeAIR import. Then we're going to hit the asterisk, which is Shift 8, and that star means just import everything from that library. Then we're going to type in a line that says LEDs.set. What this does is say we're focusing on the LEDs, the lights, and we're going to set them. And then we hit two numbers, a 0 and a 50. This first zero tells us which LED to turn on, and this 50 is a percent of brightness. So 50% means it's going to be half as bright as it possibly can be. Okay, when you finish typing, you're going to click the Run button, and that should cause the light 0 or LED 0 on your drone to shine at a 50% brightness. Okay, that has completed that step. Let's go ahead and move on. Okay, this last one. Now you'll use what you have learned about the byte LEDs to control all 8 of them. In your earlier code, we used a command that looks like LED set. And the first number, like we said, is the light, and the second number is the brightness. To set all of the LEDs, we just got to do this code for each one. So if we come to the code track here, you can see that this one set the 0 LED to 50. This one set the 1 LED to 50. And we're going to go ahead and continue. See, we've got the to do here. That means we've got to do the rest. So we're going to come over here, LEDs.set. This time we're going to change 1 and turn it to 50. And we can copy and paste this a number of times. So I'm going to hit Control C here, Enter, and Control V. And instead of light 1, I'm going to change that to light 2. So now light 0, light 1, and light 2 should turn on. We're going to do it again, Control V. And instead of light 1, this time it'll be light 3. Again, light 4. Again, light 5. Again, light 6. Again, light 7. Now there are 8 LEDs, but there's not a number 8 LED because our first LED was number 0. So 0 through 7 is 8 numbers. Right now when we run our code, our program, all of our lights on our drone light up. All right, now that we've done it, we are finished with mission 2.